Well, hello. We are back. Welcome back to the Writer's Adventure and the Engine Room Bootcamp. I am super stoked that you're here. You may notice that Mary Beth is not with me. It's possible she could be popping in at any minute. And if not, it's all good. I've got you. She will be joining shortly, we hope. All right. So, for those of you who are just tuning in, it's your first time checking this out or seeing this writer's adventure thing. We're in the middle of a writing adventure boot camp. Mary Beth and I are launching a cohort, a 14-month cohort called the Writer's Adventure, walking people from beginning, middle, end of their novel, their book, their big body of work that they need to put down on paper and get out of them and give to the public, give to the world. And we wanted to give you a sense of how we work. We approach story coaching in a very different way. I'm a work from the inside out. She's a work from the outside in. And we have a very casual approach, yet incredibly specific when it comes to details and what I would say the guts of writing. And so this boot camp is a chance for you to check us out, see if we kind of speak your language, and really play with us, like play with us for the weekend, and start writing and dive into the story that's called you to the page. So that's the writer's adventure. We are spending 3 days talking about what we call the engine room. And the engine room, if you're just tuning in for the first time, the engine room represents, well, if you think of your piece of writing like it's a body, then the engine room is like the heart. It is the thing that um, it is often the first inspiration. So you may have been out for a walk one day and just caught a visual in your head, or just heard a phrase, or just got a really deep sense of a yearning of something that was like just coming to you, and that impulse is the beginning of what creates your engine room. When you're working on a chapter, we talked a little bit about this last night, that your engine room chapter becomes like a piece of, like an anchor point for you as the writer, and as well a memorable anchor point for the listener or the viewer. It's the scene that, if you just took that scene out, it often will give you everything that you need to feel satiated by the story that you're about to hear. Or if it's the last scene, in the book, it holds all of the satiation of what you've just come through. When we have authors write an engine room chapter for them, so I hope you're hearing the two parts of this. There's the engine room chapter for the reader, right? That fills them up and kind of connects all the dots, or is like the diving board, the jumping off point. But when you are writing it for you as the writer, it is also the thing, because it's your first inspiration, because you have explored it to all corners of the conversation, of the story, of the questions. It becomes the chapter that you love the most. And as the chapter that you love the most, it also is what brings you back to the page. So spending time on your engine room chapter is not only exploratory at this stage in the game when you're just starting, it's also something that kind of holds the bar for you. So we have clients that we're working with right now who are on their fifth draft, and we work with clients through a 1 to 5 draft system. And by the time you get to the fifth draft, you've finished your editing and you're literally putting what we call the throw cushions on. You're putting the polish on. And as you're putting that polish on, you want to go back to that engine room chapter, because the engine room chapter is the bar. And every chapter needs to feel as rock solid awesome, as electric as that chapter. And that keeps a cohesiveness in your writing too. Okay, so I think you get the what of the engine room. So last night we talked a lot about inspiration and this idea of trusting what is coming to you. This morning, we took that inspiration. We're like, okay, let's write into some of the details, what we call gateways, because writing prompts open up a yearning. And make no mistake, your engine room chapter is like, it's the heart of that yearning. You should be able to, your engine room should haunt you and it should haunt your reader. The yearning is that palpable. Okay, so we did that. Then from yearning, we're like, okay, so what are some of the details that are connected to this yearning? What do you see? Do you see a scene? If you do, write something descriptive. Do you hear something? Okay, maybe what you're hearing is dialogue. Great. Start this engine room chapter from a place of dialogue. Okay, so there's that. So now today we're going to talk about, and this time we're going to talk about theme. So when we, now theme is like one of those words that you're like, oh God, really? Are we, do I really have to go to high school, back to high school English? I don't want to do that, right? I get it. Theme was like, you got to write that theme statement and they got to have their opening theme. And it was like so much pressure and it's like so boring. Okay, chuck that whole concept of like the boring theme. Where I want you to go to instead is I want you to take that idea of theme and go right to impact. Right to impact. So if you people finish your keynote, they finish listening to your song or your album, they finish reading your book, watching your movie, credits roll, book is closed, whatever. The record player is like doing its thing. Okay, for those of you who like still spin vinyl. Okay, so that it's doing its thing. When you go to impact, I want you to think, what is the first thing or the only thing that your listener or reader is thinking, experiencing, doing? How has what you have just created hit them? What's the emotional state, that they're in? So like this whole boring theme stuff, come on over to the impact side. What's your impact? Now, the gateway to get to the impact is the theme. So like, let's use grief as an example. Let's say we're exploring the grief is easier when you have a puppy. Just made that up, whatever. Grief is easier when you have a puppy. If you take it to impact, the impact is that person is going out and buying a dog, right? So sometimes you've got to work it backwards. Theme is one of those things that connects directly to yearning. So it's like the activation of that emotional longing. And it's also, theme is another way to look at theme is, it's like, what's the bumper sticker? What's the bumper sticker that speaks to like grief is better when you have a puppy? Is that not a bumper sticker? Right? What is your bumper sticker for this particular song? So I'm going to take a look at, the handout that Meribeth has for you, because she's got this really great exercise that she wants you to do. She suggests that to find your theme, you want to tap into your subconscious. So like, what the hell am I talking about, right? That's that yearning piece. That's that haunting piece. And then if we go to impact, she's got this great idea of, she wants you to take stock of everything you know about this yearning detail and create somewhat of an investigation board. You ever seen, remember the show Scandal? Remember that show? And in Scandal, they open on on a big scandal, and they've got the whole, like all the windows are just covered in clues, right? So you're looking at all the clues because the clues are connected to the impact, right? Connected to solving the crime, which is also connected to the motive. Okay, if you're lost, now what I'm doing is I'm connecting motive to theme, right? So the exercise, I want you to think about what you've just done today. You've done You've done your writing prompt into details. Why did you pick those details? Why did those details specifically haunt you? I want you to think about what are some of the details that are in your house that you care the most about. So, for example, for me, I have a blanket. I have a blanket that, but if I just said, the clue is the blanket, you'd be like, oh, that's nice that she has a blanket. No, 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 no. That blanket was made by my mom, handmade, crocheted by her. It was then on my father's bed after my mother died. And then when I moved out at 18, 2 days after grad, I only tell you that not to impress you, but that's a detail. When did she move out? She moved out 2 days after grad. How did I get there? Talking about a blanket. I took that blanket 2 days after grad. I moved out, grabbed the blanket, and moved out. So back to the theme. If my theme was grief is better when you have a puppy, okay, I know that's ridiculous. I just can't let it go. And in my writing prompt, this blanket shows up again, or on this investigative clues, right? You're like putting all the clues up on your window. Now you've got a story. Pull that detail out and go, what's the significance of that? What's the scene about that? I just gave you 2 scenes that I could write about. I've got the scene of my mother making that blanket. Maybe I was there. I've got the scene of laying that blanket on my father's bed. I have a scene about my father sitting on that bed after my mom died. What's that scene? I have a scene about me grabbing that blanket as I move out. The theme, right? Grief is better when you have a puppy, is we're exploring grief, but now we've got this really interesting scene. We've got 3 choices. Now, where does the puppy come in? I don't know. I might not even get to that today. The whole puppy thing might not even happen till tomorrow. It doesn't matter. I'm exploring the blanket, that detail. I'm exploring grief, and 3 potential stories I could write about that. So I literally just pulled that out of the air, right? And it might feel like that. What right now has called you to write? What is the yearning that has called you to write? What are the details that have called you to write? And what are your relationship? What's your relationship with those details that has called you to write? And what is the impact of those details on you? And what is the impact when you talk about those details on the reader? So a little bit earlier this morning, you may have done a list, you may have done dialogue, you may have done a description. Your next step is to take that a bit further and throw them into a scene. Throw them into a scene and connect that scene to your theme. So if you look at we gave you 3 engine room possibilities, right? We showed you Coraline, we showed you Jaws, and A Few Good Men. So Coraline, right? Coraline's whole thing is the other mother. The grass is always greener. Escape to a better life. If it's the if only, exploring this if only thing. Now, the ripple of that, of course, is that she explores both lives. The detail that she has is the doll, right? She gets the doll with the button eyes. So is Coraline about the doll with the button eyes? No. The doll with the button eyes shows up in the scene about Coraline, who eventually at the end of the scene says, ugh, I wish I had another mother, which is the hook. But it's also the theme. So that particular scene, right, totally nails what the rest of the movie is about. So what's it for you? What are you wrestling with? What's the what's the thing? What's the thing that's haunting you? What do you want? Coraline, right? Coraline wants to engage with her mom. That's what she wants. She wants to play. Ugh, but her mother's too busy. So as you move into the writing this afternoon around this engine room chapter, remember that what I'm inviting you to do is create some action around a yearning that speaks to an impact that you want your reader to have and directly connects to something you want, something you want to prove. And if you don't know quite where to go yet, go to the details. Go back to the board. What do you see? What's super juicy for you? Chase the juice. Some of you who maybe been writing for a while, chasing the juice isn't hard for you. It might be what's hard for you is the impact piece, making sure that the juice all adds up, right? Others, you're like, I got that impact piece. I just don't know how to get there. Great. That's your details. And if you're still not sure, I don't know, I can't make stuff up like you do. I want you to think about what's one of your favorite stories of your life? Like your life. What's one of your favorite childhood stories? What's one of your favorite best friend stories? What's your funniest story? What's the thing that what's one of the stories you tell over and over and over again? Sometimes we just want to plunk something that we already know, scribble that out on a piece of paper and go, okay, there's a structure I know, there's a structure I understand. How can I work this theme of mine that's yeah, this yearning of mine into that structure? We all need different things to keep our hands moving. I've just given you a concept of theme, but your job isn't to understand the concept, it's to write. Traction. Remember we talked about traction, getting words on the page. I want you to write. And I want you to have a piece of writing that you've explored all the way and that you love. You love it because it's got stakes, because you took risks, because you totally drove the impact all the way to the end, because you can feel the guts of the yearnings in it, because you've got some wicked dialogue. That's what I want for you. All right. So I'm going to post this handout from Meribeth about doing the investigation board and diving into the subconscious. And my hope for you today is that, you get 500 words out if you're working on something like that. If you're working on a song, that you get a first draft, and that first draft goes somewhere, has guts to it. Because some of you are really good at like just sketching out. No, 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 no. This isn't now. We're diving deep in this. This is your subconscious. We're going all the way in on this one. Flesh on the bone. That's what I want. And I want you to risk. And I want you to yearn. And I want you to nail some details. Come on out in the skinny branches and show me. It's like that writing prompt that you had earlier this morning. It was so clear to me then. Show me what you want me to see. Okay, so there's the challenge. 500 words is something, or a beautiful sketch outline of something. Take some risks. What's the heart? And go, 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 go. We will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. when we take this a whole other level. If you want to send me things so I can look at it, you can email me at TinaO@TinaOLife.com. I will totally take a look at it. Or if you're in one of the Facebook groups, throw it in. Let's take a look at it there. I would love for you to share. All right. Lots of love, lots of support, lots of belief in you. 500 words. Go do it. Get messy. Get in the adventure. Don't worry about it if you get it wrong. Just risk. Okay. I believe in you. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.